Hello and welcome to another episode of Meller Notes podcast. My name is William Meller, and as always, I'm very glad to have you here for another reflection, another conversation, another moment, another time to be together and walk through some topics that can make some difference for your career, to the way that you're thinking, the way you're considering your personal and professional development. And as always, this is the moment to calm down. I know there's a lot of hype and a lot of noise out there. People are screaming out loud that everything is changing so fast. But here, it's a moment, a few minutes, for you to have a look what is really changing, what is really going to affect you, and how we can think in a good way, in a good manner around all those topics. And today we have very interesting three topics that, as always, they are very connected and they speak with each other around the way we work and the way the companies are preparing their business for the long term careers. All right. So today we're going to talk a little bit on the way that we are thinking. I mean, are we still thinking in a good way? How do you think? What is your thinking process? Because nowadays with AI, people are forgetting that they still need to reflect about the things. Still need to solve problems in that they still have a brain they need to use. Also, we are going to talk a little bit about culture because overall, a culture in a company is very much affected by changes, by transformations. And I don't know if you realize, but in the past few years, companies are implementing transformations and changing their business, their strategy all the time. And by the way, that is exactly the third topic. We are going to talk about how people are actually tired of so many changes happening all the time, all the way, and every single time. I mean, there's a feeling that every single week something can change in the company that we are working with. So, are you prepared for the first one? Because here we go. Can you still think in the same way that your brain was thinking 10 years ago? Do you think that your brain is still working the same way it was working 10 years ago? Well, there are different ways of thinking about it, right? You can be glad that your brain changed because of course we are expected to be a little bit better. I'm talking about that every episode here, every video that we record, that I expect you and I expect myself as well every single day to be at least 1% better or perhaps 0.5% better compared to the version that we were yesterday. So having a brain that keeps evolving, keep creating new connections between the neurons, that's very nice. But what about your thinking process, the way that you solve problems? Do you think that now using artificial intelligence to solve so many things in your day, are you still able to think about the solutions that you are providing or the problems that are appearing in front of you? I want to reflect with you based on the data and some interesting facts that are coming from the market right now. First of all, we have a report published by Gartner with a prediction that sounds a bit strange depending on how you read it. But basically, Gartner is saying that by the end of 2026, this year, half of all the global organizations will require some kind of AI free test to make sure that the candidates they are evaluating, that they are going to hire, can actually be the best match for that role. And why this is happening? Well, basically, we have in many different positions and many different professionals right now, take software development, for example, AI appearing as a great way to help, to improve, to support the architects in the way that they are solving problems. So the software engineers, they are using AI to make things better. That's good. And actually, it's good that the technology, the evolution from a technology perspective keep evolving and that we bring that to our careers to use in our business. So the point from Gartner is not about AI free in a way that you are expected to never use it, but that you know what are you solving or how to solve a problem without AI as well. Thinking back to the example with software development, you are expected to be the engineer the one who projects, who looks to the problem and think about the solution that will be possible to solve that kind of problem. So that solution will be implemented in a specific way that your brain, connected with the techniques that you develop over time, are maybe the best fit to solve it in a good way for you and for your possible customer. So the solution, or the way to get in the solution, should be in a person's brain. And then for the implementation itself, to accelerate the process, of course, AI can be a big supporter to brainstorm the solution, to perhaps implement the code, or even to validate some tests, validate some different scenarios for that solution. But it's still the engineering behind the solution and the problem solving should be in a person's brain. And with that information from Gartner, we have basically an interesting phrase in that report from Dario Plummer. He's the VP, Distinguished Analyst, and Chief of AI Research, what a tight one, at Gartner. And he presented the organization's strategic predictions um, in this Congress and also in the report. And basically, what he's saying is this: I will read for you. The atrophy of critical thinking skills caused by generative AI use will push 50% of global organizations to require AI free skills assessment. So, it's exactly what I was describing to you. Companies trying to find a way to evaluate that the candidates can actually solve a problem and that they know what they are doing. They can use AI. Maybe they should use AI, but they know what they are doing. So, of course, with that, we can make a lot of reflections only on that data per se, the report from Gartner and the concerns from the organizations. Because talking directly to you first, who are in a management position, a leadership position, someone who has in your role the responsibility to hire people, do you think that today you can still evaluate people in the same way that you were evaluating 3, 4, 5 years ago? It's crazy how fast things change, but in many areas that is exactly the case. And for you, leader, if you don't understand, first, that's the first point, if you don't understand the technology itself and how it affects in a good way and a bad way the employees in your team, maybe you are behind a very important curve of knowledge that should be happening right now for your company. That is knowing why, where, how technologies like that can support your business and your team. But also, we have many reports. We talk about that in another videos here. We have many reports from MIT, from Stanford, and many other research who are saying that AI, depending on how and for what you use that, can be a big problem for your brain. There is a famous study that was published, I think, end of the last year, where they evaluated many people using, in a one group, using ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, other kind of AI to solve a kind of problem in the beginning of the test, and another group that was AI free, so they had to solve many different problems in the same kind of problems, but without any AI technology to support. So the result of problem solving the problem itself was not the point of the discussion. The point was that what happened after this test, the first part of the test, they put all the groups together and they had like this kind of free talk between them, have a moment of just relax a little bit, and then they came back to their seats and they were required to write a text. So just by themselves, no AI, they should write like a simple one-page text with a specific theme around it, so a specific subject. And basically, the test showed that everyone who used AI first, who were exposed to AI in the problem solving part, had very poor text compared to those who didn't use. So the study had many other tests. You can read the official report, and if you don't want to rely only the information I'm giving to you, you can read the article as it is published. But the fact is, it is proved that AI can affect your brain in many ways, depending on how and for what you use that. And if you are giving to AI, to the technology, the freedom to think for you, think in your place, basically put your brain responsibility outside of your body, you are giving to AI the chance to actually replace you. I'm sorry to say that because basically, the term that Gartner is using for this kind of moment, it's cognitive outsourcing. So basically, outsourcing your brain. And if you do that, or if you are doing that right now when you're solving a problem, letting AI go throughout all the thinking process and this problem solving process for you instead of be the one leading it, using AI to research, using AI to support you, but still being the one solving the problem, thinking on the complexity behind the problem, you are for sure creating a lot of weaknesses for you. And any human muscle that you don't train, that you don't exercise, will get weaker over time. If you go to the gym for one whole year and then for the next one you will stop training only your legs, for example, you can be sure that after a while your legs will be much weaker than it was before. And it's the same for your brain. Unfortunately, you don't see the effect in the same way that you see, like physically in your muscles, but with your brain, you also have some kind of big problems. And if you don't use your cognitive capacity, unfortunately, your brain can, the facts and the studies are showing this, it can get weaker over time. So back to the point of work and jobs and concerns, that is basically what we've been talking a lot, and many other, everyone is talking right now about the fear of being replaced by AI. If you are proactive, using, learning about the technology, but keeping understanding where you add value and where you can add even more value using AI technologies, you are on top of the curve of those professionals who are actually driving what will happen next. But if you're letting AI do everything for you, you're actually giving them the chance and showing how it can replace you. Because if it can do everything for you, why they need you? They can use only the robot and solve all the problems. Think about project management, my area. I can use AI, of course, to support me when I'm gathering information for a report, when I'm structuring all the information that I need to consider for a risk management, to evaluate the cost of the project, to see what is happening when we are effectively implementing the project and using the budget, using the money. AI can support with a lot of things so I can manage the project in a better way. But still, the one who you use those informations to negotiate with a stakeholder, to solve a conflict with the team, to consider what to do when a deadline is not going to work anymore. You need to speak to executives that things are delayed. You need to reorganize, replan the project. It's still the human who is doing that. So the project manager doing that or following that direction is probably the one driving how AI would be for project managers in the future. But those who are just letting AI do everything and even, working so many more projects, being more productive, but using AI for everything, not even thinking, not even using their brains anymore, those are for sure showing how they can be replaced in a few years. With that, as always, I say this every single time. I know one topic is connected, is bringing the next one. And now it's time to talk a little bit about culture. What is happening in your organization's culture during all those transformations? All those big transformations happening all the time. You have agile transformation, and then you have digital transformation, but also you have strategic transformations, and then a finance transformation. And then you have many programs transforming your company that you don't even know anymore from where and to what you are transforming your company. We have a very important and interesting survey from Deloitte with more than 9,000 leaders and across 89 countries. So, very spreaded research with a lot of data. And this research is in partnership with Oxford Economics. Basically, what they are saying, and by the way, the report is called From Tensions to Tipping Points Choosing the Human Advantage. What they are saying is basically now in the beginning of 2026, many companies are doing many changes in their business and their investments because of AI. But this is already happening in the past few years, as I just said, with many other transformations. But are the companies considering the culture in the company during those transformations? According to the data that we have, that is not the case. And Deloitte and Oxford, they are calling this problem a culture debt, or basically, it's a debt that the organizations accumulate when it accelerates transformation. And the data is quite significant. One third of workers experience 15 or more significant organizational change just in the last year. That is crazy, isn't it? 15 changes in the organization somehow. It can be a reorg, can be a strategic change, a financial or budget cut, or something like that. 15 in just the period of 1 year. That is very relevant. But the point here is not the change itself. We have a lot of more to talk about change, but and the concerns about that. But the point is the culture in the organization. Because if you're all the time changing your strategy, changing how you are walking from the point A to the point B, and why you want to walk from point A to point B, and how and where this point B actually is, well, basically, you are not giving to the your body of employees the chance to adapt how they're working now and think, reflect on how they should behave and work for this future transformation that is coming for the company. And this culture depth is quite very significant in many sense because if the companies are not considering the humans and the people who are working because they are the ones responsible actually for the culture, they are missing the DNA or the soul of the company during all those transformations. And this is a big, big risk. Because in the end, what makes your business, your company unique, it's how unique you are. This phrase looks like a little bit dumb, but it's real. Think about it. What makes Apple, for example, sell all the phones and everything is because Apple has a history. So people trust on having the products from Apple for a reason. It is the same with many other companies. A car company who people trust, a car, a car company that people keep buying from the same brand because they understand what is behind the DNA of that company. So the company itself becomes like a DNA. You cannot talk to Apple. Apple does not exist. But what exists are the people working at Apple who made Apple be what they are. So basically, closing the loop on this on this reflection, what I want you to think is with all the transformations that are happening in your company, and this is special reflection for you in a leadership or a management position, with all the change happening in your company right now and how your company is being transformed, do you think that in 10 years from now your company will keep the same DNA, the same soul, the same way of doing things? Of course, you can and you should change many things. You should be ready to change if something is not working for the market. You should be able to change if something is not working for your customer, or perhaps your strategy is not working anymore. So, proactively, you act on things that will make your company more relevant. You do some adaptations and you keep focusing on your main strategy, the reason why the business exists. That is basically one of the main things behind business agility. So don't confuse the things here. But if you are all the time doing a kind of transformation that impact what and how you do things, and you don't even consider or don't reflect how this is impacting your culture, you are just changing for the sake of change because you need to follow the hype, you need to follow the market. You are risking a lot your uniqueness, what is making your business, your company so relevant, and what maybe would be the best change to keep your company and your business relevant for the future. Culture is a key thing, and people leading a company, people in leadership positions should have an active voice during all kind of transformation project to make sure that this is being discussed, being considered, and that change management is being a real thing well executed in the company. We are talking about changes, and of course, the next topic is almost connected. I would say they are one per se, because we are talking about changes. First, we focus on the cultural aspect of it, but now I want to invite you to focus on the mental aspect of all those changes. The question to you is basically, can you survive another change in your organization? I'm not talking about being laid off. Well, maybe that could be one of the ways of thinking about it. Maybe there's an exchange, a new way of investing in the company, changing the budget from project A to project B. Maybe they are cutting a lot of products and projects to invest more on AI. It can be many reasons why a company is changing or why a company is being transformed, going to agile transformation, financial transformation. It can be a digital transformation. So many things can make a business change, of course. The problem is when this is happening all the time, right? And we have this interesting data from the Society for Human Resource Management. They served more than 2,000 professionals in more than and this in many countries. And this report is saying that 72% of those professionals have higher expectations of their employers than ever before. So the expectations to grow is high, but they are, if I take the number here, only 27% believe that with all the changes happening right now, the companies is doing or executing their strategy in a good way, managing the change in a good way, and therefore they could see opportunities coming for them in the coming years. So see how relevant this data is. I will repeat for you. Okay, 72% say they are very motivated to be engaged with their companies for the future, but only 27% are seeing opportunities coming because the business is changing quite fast. Now, let's reflect about this, connect with a few more data, okay? Because right now we are living in a moment that Deloitte and Oxford are calling a change exhaustion moment for the workers. Basically, what it means, people are seeing that the company is changing all the time, changing how they invest, what is the strategy is, what the main goal for the company is, how they are going to organize themselves to work with AI, how they are organizing their ways of working. So things are changing so fast that people are not being able to react in a good way for that. So they are getting tired, and it is not tired because they have more to do or just because they have different things to do all the time, but because they don't know what to expect from the company that they're working with. And this number from Deloitte is quite relevant. One third of workers faced 15 or more significant change in the past year. Very relevant number. I know I'm repeating myself here, but it's a very relevant number. And those changes, they have a direct impact on the mental ability of people to concentrate and keep their motivations high. Because if for the previous year, you had so many changes that are maybe making you work with different manager, making you work in a different team, a new focus, a new project, and you don't feel that for the next 3 months you are going to keep your scope of work that you have right now, it creates a tension and some anxiety for the workers, and they start losing the trust in their companies. Gartner and Deloitte in their reports, they are saying the same thing. The human cost of acceleration is being externalized and is starting to be a problem for many organizations around the world. Never before we had so many cases of burnouts and issues related to psychological problems for workers, especially for knowledge workers. And here I want to be careful, by the way, and make them the warn, because there is no direct connection between those two datas. Okay, and I normally don't like when people start taking like data from a report A, looking to the report B, and start making connections to force a correlation between those things. I know that Taleb would hate that as well, so I will not do it here. But with that consideration explained before I bring my point, is I really have a hard time to don't see that it could be connected, or at least raise the hypothesis that all these fast changes, all this accelerated environment that we are living right now and we are living for the past 10 or more years, if they are not of somehow connected with how people are increasing their kind of mental problems and being so tired and having burnout, and they need to stop working for a while to just to recover their brains. Again, there is no direct causation. If there is something, by the way, being researched on that, I would love to read. By the way, if you know about it, let me know in the comments. But here I will just guess, okay? And I want to make clear, because I want to be very transparent and honest during our conversations. What is the fact? What is the data? And what is just a guess or an opinion? In this case, it's a guess. I'm guessing here, so I want to be transparent about that. But back to the reflection, I want to ask you, how are you feeling right now with all those changes? Because I want to remind you, I know that you don't need me to remind you about that, but I want to remind you still that your career is your career. Your career is not responsibility of your manager. It is not responsibility of your company. It is not responsibility of anyone outside or beside you. You are the one responsible. You are the one who act. You are the one who take decisions. Sometimes you are tired and you are afraid. We are living a moment of global wars, global crisis. A few years ago, we had a pandemic. So I know that many people are afraid or fearing doing job change at this point. We talk about that in another video about job hugging. People are hugging to their jobs because they are concerned about the world out there. But still, you can be afraid. You can maybe protect your job, but still remember that your career is your responsibility. And all those changes happening in the business, that's another reminder, they are happening everywhere right now. If you step back a little bit from the moment we are living itself and look back to the past, we had many moments where the curve of change started to accelerate quite fast, and then it came back to a normal pace, and then it started to accelerate again. But I know also that for the previous 20 years, this curve is quite going high for a long time, because we had the internet revolution, and then we start working this digital revolution, and now we have more technology coming, and we have remote work, and we have so many things happening at the same time, even more now with AI. But of course, things tend to come back to normal when it comes to technologies and acceleration, no matter what kind of technology it is. Okay. And finally, I want to invite you, and this is a reminder also for thinking about all the learnings that you can and maybe you should take from those moments. When you do a lot of acceleration programs in a company, you have the chance to work with so many different aspects of the business. You see that you are being transformed from a more traditional work to a digital work, and then your company is now being transformed to doing finance in this way, and now we're doing that way. And then it's the same with the ways of working. Previously, you work in a more traditional environment, and maybe now you work in a agile environment with teams spread all over the world. So you have a big chance to also learn a lot from that. And I think this is one of the advantage that I'm trying to see because I'm also impacted. I know I'm reflecting with you. I'm not reflecting for or to you. I'm reflecting with you here. And one thing that I'm trying to bring to myself with a very positive mindset is that I never learned so much and so fast how I'm learning right now in this moment of things changing so fast. 3 years ago, I was not working in so many AI projects, and now every single project that I work have some kind of AI technology and some new technology and some new ways of doing analytics and some new ways of doing software development. So there's always a lot we can learn if we look with a positive mindset to that. And I invite you to think in that way as well. But let me know in the comments how you are feeling about those changes because I respect if you are tired and I respect if you're not living a good moment right now because of all those changes in your organization. So, with that, I want to say thank you very much for another great moment together. That was another episode of Meller Notes. My name is William Meller, and please let me know, as always, what you think about those topics, what you are considering, and what you maybe want to suggest for our next conversation. See you in the next episode. Bye.